Today is Tuesday, June 5th, and I'm your host, Paula Hersey. On today's show, we will get our weekly check-in with the Barnstable Police Department, and we explore what makes the Barnstable High School Art and Applied Technology Department so special. First, a look at today's weather. Still might need a jacket today. A chance of showers after 5 p.m., patchy fog before 10 a.m. Otherwise, partly sunny with a high near 64. North wind 7 to 15 miles per hour, becoming southwest in the afternoon. Chance of precipitation is just 30%. New precipitation amounts of less than 1/10 of an inch possible. Let's start with some news you can use. The Hyannis Water Board, at their May 15th, 2018 regularly scheduled public meeting, has determined that a potential for a water shortage exists due to the limited availability of water production wells and the need to purchase water from adjacent water systems. The declaration of a state of water supply conservation by the Hyannis Water Board is appropriate to ensure an adequate supply of water for drinking and fire protection is available and to ensure compliance with the Water Management Act. There are several restrictions limiting non-essential outdoor water use by water users and are necessary to control the volume of water pumped each day. Here are a few conservation tips. Please be aware of advanced weather forecasts and adjust your watering schedule accordingly. Install rain shutoff devices on automatic irrigation systems. Water conservation kits are also available at no charge. The Hyannis Water Board will terminate the water use restrictions on non-essential outdoor water use when the condition requiring the state of water supply conservation no longer exists. Please call the Hyannis Water System at 508-775-0063 with any questions. The town of Barnstable has a commitment to its youth and sees our future in providing programs and support to programs that help our young adults achieve their dreams and potential. The third annual YMCA Teen Achievers Benefit, held May 18th, provided a glimpse of some of their challenges, their dreams, and their successes as they embark upon the next phase of their lives. Our future is bright with these hardworking teen achievers in our town.
This program started about 3 years ago exactly, and we have our alumni with us tonight, which also makes me incredibly proud.
You will have obstacles, you will have barriers, and that's all they are. You can get over them, you can get around them with a little bit of hope, a little bit of tenacity. Okay, your dreams are bigger than your obstacles.
As you guys know, sometimes we make plans in life, but those plans don't always work out. At the beginning of 2017, my mom lost her job. Times that were tough became tougher. When August arrived, it became pretty clear that I wasn't going to be attending Duke University. And when February came around, I knew the financial aid process would be coming around again, knowing that that was what I previously was not successful in last year. Having a mother from a different country sometimes means that you're not going to know, or they're not going to know. I decided that that wasn't going to stop me from chasing my dreams. When May 1st, the deadline for college decision day came through, I did not get any financial aid from any school. And I'm very happy to say that today I enrolled at Boston College. Help of Renee and the Achiever Program received a very generous financial aid award that I can make work, and I know I can. And people like Renee and whoever else contributes to them and helps them find people like me, because certainly God knows I needed it.
That's what this program is about. It's about helping our young people in our community who don't have the opportunities and the skills and the support they need to pursue their dreams. But the Y is here to help them on that journey and to help them pursue their dreams. Without question, we believe in you from the tip of your toes to the top of your head, and we will not give up on you.
I see you. I see each of you in your uniqueness, in your amazement, in the potential that you realized, or the potential that is yet to be realized.
We are 5-star ambassadors.
We are 5-star ambassadors.
We represent ourselves, our families, our schools, our communities,
which side does the pedestrian cross the road? On the phone this morning, Deputy Chief
What?
Sonneban tells us about a road rage incident on South Street last week involving a pedestrian, a hammer, and a truck. And
Why does the pedestrian cross the road? Well, the other side, hopefully.
And you're going to school us on summer safety.
Absolutely. Here we go. Yeah, just there at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, a caller called us and let us know that there was an altercation going on South. And basically, what happened is there was a young to me, Brian Park, 31 of Hyannis, and a 30-year-old man from Mashpee. Mr. Park, I guess, was trying to cross the street on a pedestrian crosswalk, and he felt that the truck that was being driven by the man from Mashpee was not going to slow down or stop, so he threw a chunk of metal at the truck and hit it. The driver, who said he was stopping, he grabbed a hammer because Mr. Park started coming at the truck at him. When Mr. Park saw that the guy had a hammer, he pulled a knife, and the two had words, and Mr. Parks threw the knife at the man and missed him and missed his truck. But then the area, the police were able to detain him. He did throw that spring-assisted knife, and he was arrested and charged with assault. But what this really brings up is, you're talking about it, is what do you do at a crosswalk? When you're supposed to stop, what are vehicles required to do? Because it appears as though people just completely disregard those crosswalks on occasion. People think there has to be a sign, or people think there has to be some other sort of warning. All there really needs to be are those white lines going across the street. And what happens is when you're driving a car, you have to slow, yield, or stop operating your vehicle, which includes a bicycle, by the way, whenever the pedestrian is on the same half of the roadway and inside the crosswalk as you are, or they're approaching from the opposite half of the road within 10 feet of where your car is. So if you're driving down a two-lane road, say like Main Street, and you're coming up and there's a pedestrian in a crosswalk on your side of the street, you have to stop. And then there's also a state law that states any car that is stopped for a pedestrian within a crosswalk or stopped at a crosswalk, you cannot pass that car, because we realize that although that car may have seen the pedestrian and stopped, you can't see that pedestrian because if it's a truck or a car in blocking your vision and that pedestrian comes out from around the car, you strike him, you're in the wrong. So there's also a state law, especially it applies like on Main Street because it's a two-lane one-way road. You cannot pass any cars that are stopped stopped for a crosswalk, and that would be a $205 violation. You can't block a crosswalk, so if you're stopping and parking on the street, you cannot block the crosswalk with your vehicle when you park. There are also a couple other little laws that people fail to understand. When people are walking down the street, pedestrians walking down the street, you, as a motorist, bicyclist, must slow to a reasonable speed to pass that person. So you can't just keep blowing by them at a high rate of speed. You have to slow and pass at a safe distance and a reasonable speed. So those are some basic things that you need to keep in mind. And when is it considered during a crosswalk? Because we all know that sometimes, especially on Main Street, people kind of stand by the crosswalk and they're kind of looking around and they're not really in the crosswalk. And people aren't sure whether they stop, and then the people cross the street. If the person is actually, stepping into the crosswalk, is sitting there or standing right there at the head of the crosswalk, and they look like they're going to cross the street, you need to stop. You need to do your due diligence and stop and provide for the safety of that pedestrian that's getting ready to cross the street. Also, there is some confusion because oftentimes you see pedestrians. There are some rules that apply to pedestrians too. Right. There are state laws that talk about whenever there's a sidewalk, pedestrians are supposed to actually walk on the sidewalk. It's become a habit lately that we've noticed that pedestrians, I can get it in winter when snow is piled up on on the sidewalk and it hasn't been cleared yet. But even nowadays, you can drive around in some of the nicer weather and you see the pedestrian is walking on the street right beside the sidewalk. We stop, we educate them and tell them, you know, there is a law that requires you, if there is a sidewalk, you're supposed to be on it. But still, as operating a vehicle, you still need to exercise due care and caution when you are approaching a pedestrian that happens to be in the roadway. And also, that is something that also applies on Main Street is when you're opening your car door, there's a law that says no person shall open the door of a car, of a vehicle, a motor vehicle, unless it can be safely done without interfering with the movement of other traffic, bicycles, or pedestrians. So you can't just throw your door open on the sidewalk side and hit somebody. There's a law for that, but you do have to exercise caution when you're opening your doors, particularly on the traffic side as well, because a lot of people think, oh, I'm parked, I'll just open my door. You should look in your mirrors and check to make sure nobody's approaching, especially like bicycles. You may think you don't hear a car, but a bicycle can be coming up. So we do get that on occasion. People open their doors and they're not looking around properly and catch a bicyclist, or sometimes they'll hit a pedestrian. But, you know, really you need to exercise caution at all times. Look around, pay attention, and exercise due care and caution.
So that sidewalk law for pedestrians being on the sidewalk, does that include runners and joggers too?
Yeah, let's say pedestrians, and well, you know, I would assume a pedestrian is a runner or a jogger.
Right.
They are pedestrian. So it doesn't get down whether you're walking or crawling or okay. how you're being a pedestrian.
Right.
But there is a law that says pedestrians need to get on the sidewalk, and if it's available, if it's safe, that's where they should be.
All right. Well, that was a fantastic primer on pedestrians and the use of sidewalks, Deputy Chief. We appreciate it.
No problem. Have a great day.
You too now.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye. In order for students to understand the range and depth of the human imagination, they must have knowledge of the arts. The Barnstable Public Schools have long supported a strong and effective visual art program. In the visual arts, students express ideas and emotions that they cannot express in language alone. We spent some time at Geyer Barn during the Senior Art Show this spring and spoke to the art and applied technology educators who make this department so unique.
We have a very special art program at our school, which is fabulous because the kids get to experience all types of art. The town supports the art. I've never known a public school where the art program is supported as well as we are. And they have many possibilities of what they can explore, and the facilities are pretty amazing. The ceramic facility is better than many colleges. So when they leave us and they come back and they say, I didn't know how good it was. I didn't know what I had. And I think that that's pretty amazing.
Art and Applied Technology, our department has that title because it incorporates what would be considered like traditional arts, painting, printmaking, drawing, sculpture, along with more technical, almost like engineering aspects. So we have a shop for fashion design, we have a woodworking shop, we have a ceramic studio, we have a film studio with digital media. So it's sort of encompassing what you would traditionally consider, you know, art classes, along with what we call applied technology.
The students learn many things by doing art. One of them is how to problem solve and think creatively. And I think that's one of the most important skills that they can take away. Because as we know, not all students will be artists when they leave the high school, but the skills that they learn will carry them through their life.
If you look at the basic process of the basic scientific process, the scientific method, and then you look at an artist's method, they're the same process, but usually with a different objective. So if you're solving an engineering problem, You have a really specific problem that you're trying to solve, but the way you go about it is you have a hypothesis, you try some different experiments, and then you analyze, see what happened, and then you repeat the process over and over again until you find a solution that's durable and that works. If you're an artist, you're not trying to build a bridge that's going to hold up cars necessarily, but you're trying to solve an artistic problem, a problem of expression or of aesthetic, or a problem of communication. Those are kind of your objectives. But the process is the same. You have a hypothesis, you try a bunch of stuff out, you see what works, and then you repeat the process over and over again. So it's a creative process, a process of inquiry and discovery and repetition, usually, to get a good product.
So in woodworking, we have to spend a lot of time talking about designing and proper construction techniques. So we'll spend a lot of time talking about joinery. We want things usually be symmetric or to a certain scale. For example, this table was made a little bit smaller than a traditional coffee table on purpose. It had to fit into a certain space. It was designed for a certain area. And the student had to spend a lot of time figuring out all the different joints, how we were going to attach this bottom shelf to the rails, and designing all of that. So there's a lot of pre-work that gets done. So all the students in class are required to do a drawing with a list of all the materials they're going to use before they even begin construction. We figure out all the joints, and then after that, then we finally get the wood out and start trying to make our product. So there is a lot of pre-planning, and then in the end of it, after it gets all done, there's a lot of time spent finishing. So, I mean, there's a lot, and that's the boring part of woodworking, the sanding and the finishing work, but it really makes a huge difference in how the product, the final presentation of the product.
It's not usually the product. These aren't the products for me. The students are the products. So the students will surprise me, and after seeing a number of students make things that that are at a certain level, certain quality, sometimes really surprising, excellent quality. That's great, and we love to show off the objects, but the students are the real product. And having the students have the experience of going through the process of making work, of deciding what's important to them, what they want to show off, and how they want it to be shown off, and then being able to explain themselves to an audience. Can they talk to somebody, tell them what they did and why they did it in a compelling way? That is the most exciting thing for me. So like students that, like we have a student who has had 2 different shows at the high school where she had her own openings, and she handled her own press, and she taught classes basically. They would bring their class down, Caroline would talk to them about her exhibit, and she taught the class. And so she was, that experience, having her have that experience under her belt, doesn't matter what she goes on and does, that's going to benefit her. The same thing with, I'm thinking of another student who was, I think, a little shyer and more reserved as an underclassman. And now she has presented her work and her ideas to the art department staff. She's explained her work and why she's taking criticism. She's talked in front of larger groups about her work out in the community. And she'll be doing it again in front of, let's see, I think the Rotary Club coming up. So that kind of opportunity for the kids to make something, but then bring it out there, put it in front of an audience, see how they respond to it, explain themselves. I think that is, there's huge value in that. The kinds of students that the classes attract vary widely, and the reason the students are in the classes varies widely. So at Barnstable High School, the students have a number of different options for what classes they can take. So when they're a freshman, I think that they have 8 different introductory level art classes that they can take. So they can take wood shop, they can take fashion design, they can take digital media, they can take animation, they can take ceramics. We have a wide variety of different classes that they can take. Students take them for different reasons. Sometimes they're taking it because that is their absolute passion. They know at that time, they're like, I think I really want to do this. This is something that I want to do. I want to go to art school, or I want to go to film school. Sometimes they're taking it because it's an interest of theirs. They I've always been interested in it. They've seen other kids, upperclassmen, doing something, and they're like, oh, I'd love to take that and be involved in that. Other times, they are looking for a good solution for their art requirement. They have part of the requirements for them to get a high school diploma is they have to take an art-based class, and that could be art or music, but they have to take a class, so they are looking for something that will fit that interest. You know, like that's one of the nice things about having the variety is because it's a requirement, they're not having to take one class. They can pick from a variety there. So they're there for a number of different reasons, and the paths that I would consider successful are really varied. There's some students that take one class, an introductory level class, they enjoy it, but they move on, they do something else. That can be a real success. If it opens their eyes to a broader world and another way of looking at the world, then that's a success. But we also offer them the opportunity in all those shops for them to take year 2, 3, and 4, so they can really get a deep knowledge of whatever that discipline is, if they so choose. That can be another path for success. That can be something that they want to pursue as a career, but it can also be something that they want to pursue just because it's an interest of theirs, and they really enjoy it and they want to incorporate it into their lives. So I would say that there's many ways for the students, many reasons for them to take the classes, and many ways for it to be seen as a success, in my view.
When my students come in, Ceramics 1, they have never experienced it other than maybe making a pinch pot or a small coil pot in middle school. So they see that they're not limited in their scale. They're trying to explore all the various techniques of hand building, and they get to throw on the potter's wheel. And it's wonderful when you see them connect to what you're teaching them and sort of fall in love with what they're doing and say that they love coming to class and they look forward to it. It makes their school day.
Anyone can learn to draw. Anyone can learn to paint. You can make it super linear, and you can paint a photorealistic painting. Anyone can do it. Literally anyone can do it. But you have to have the patience and the belief that you can go through the steps and the repetition and the practice that it takes to get good at it, just like anything else. And so that the students who struggle with repetition and with practice, the technical side of painting something that's realistic might be really difficult for them. Just like anywhere else in the school, practice, repetition, attention to detail, organization might be a struggle for them throughout the rest of the school. Art does allow you other avenues for success. So you can paint something photorealistic, but you can also paint something that's expressive, that its objective is not to look just like a landscape. Its objective can be different. It can be trying to do something different, and a student may excel at that. The student that struggles with the photorealistic painting might really excel at a found object sculpture and really make amazing connections with what this object could be. Because oftentimes our brains are good at some things, but they're not good at all things. And we could be really good at making connections and at making associations, and not as good or need more practice with organization and with repetition and with practice. So I think a good art room offers all those students an opportunity to succeed and to practice the thing that they're not good at. I think you should be asking the students to do both.
If you look at the work that we have here, it is all unique and it's very expressive, and all types of kids from many different factions of our community come in and are exposed to the same thing no matter who they are. And if you look at the work, it's just amazing that kids in high school are doing work that is often like college quality. And I'm always impressed with the students and what they do.
I did mention earlier, this is only my third year working at Barnstable, and I think the art department at Barnstable is amazing. I mean, the full ceramics, the digital arts, the TV, all the different studios, you know, the traditional fine arts classes. So the seamstress work, So there is a wide variety of artistic pursuits offered at Barnstable High School. I mean, it's a very big school. I think that's the advantage. You have such a big school that you can do lots of different things. And I think Barnstable's done a nice job of having a little bit of everything for all students in the arts. So it works out very well, in my opinion.
Barnstable High School is an amazing little community. And it's a diverse and eclectic and different group of people with all different backgrounds. And in the art department, we see everybody in the whole school. They all come together in the art department because they don't get, you don't end up having separating people out into honors or AP or these different delineations. Everybody takes the same introductory level class, and everybody has the opportunity to take it again and again all throughout their years there if they choose to. And that is a gift to us as teachers, and a gift to the community to be able to see all the different parts of our community together, and working together in the same room, sharing their ideas and sharing their work. So that's one of my favorite parts of the job.
Here's a look at the community calendar. How presents Wellness Wednesday, a documentary and discussion, The Connection, Mind, Your Body, on June 6th at the Centerville Library. The movie explains the latest scientific research proving that there is a direct connection between your mind and body when it comes to your health. It starts at 6:30 p.m. with social time with healthy smoothies, and then the formal program begins at 7 p.m. I'm Paula Hersey, and thank you for watching Barnstable Today.